Hello everybody, Jeremy here, aka Mitsurugi-w, making a short video just to show you how I'm converting this gun to work with my S-JIHP PCB that I also sell. And many of you might know from looking at my other videos that my S-JIHP is a PCB that interfaces with a Sega JVS I/O and allows you to use arcade controls in a home environment. In the case of this one, this is an Operation Thunderbolt gun from directly off a cabinet. It's a positional gun, sometimes called XY. I had a customer in Europe that wanted me to buy him a gun off eBay, convert it, and send it to him. And these are the guns he wanted me to buy. So I bought one for him and one for myself to tinker around with. And the main reason why he wanted this gun is because it's an Uzi, and he wants to use it to play Rambo on his Lindbergh. And this will actually work really well. I converted it and I've tested it on mine, and it does work pretty good. It's pretty cool to be able to use an Uzi rather than the Revolution X gun that I was using, which works actually perfectly fine also. But what I would normally do is I would have to make an adapter. This is a picture of my, or here's an actual S-JIHP. So I'd have to make some kind of adapter or splice these wires. And what I normally do, like, I'd splice some wires and I'd solder them into a connector that will interface with my DB25s here using the Walsdawg standard, which I might have pop up on screen, who knows. But that's what I would normally do. And I sat down and I was getting ready to start splicing, like cutting these wires, and I decided, let me see if I can source these connectors. I mean, I know this gun's nearly, it's got to be 25 years old at least, probably. And I was like, let me just see if I can source these connectors. I've had pretty good luck sourcing the right connectors for things lately, so I was like, let me try it. And lo and behold, I did some searching and I found these. And what you'll see is the exact same connector, just 25 years newer. So if I can find this, surely I can find the female side. And boom, there we go. Female side. So since I could find one that'll plug directly in here, I can go ahead and just make an adapter without splicing any wires. And here is what a finished product looks like. Basically, it plugs right in, just like that. Snaps right in, nice and snug. And then this DB25 plugs right in to that socket right there. Now keep in mind on my S-JIHP, this right here, this DB15 right here, is joystick standard for PC joysticks. So it has 4 analog devices and I think 4 buttons. So you could make an adapter that uses the DB15 port instead, and then just keep this one open for like a joystick or something. So you have your gun, and then you have like all your buttons for like coin and start and all that over here, because the gun literally has 2 buttons. It has trigger, which is button 1, and I always wire up this button on the side to button 2. And in the case of Rambo, it actually uses rage as button 3, so you would have to wire the button as button 3, which you could just do on the S-JIHP. All you would have to do is put a jumper between switch 3 and switch 2, since the button on the gun is wired for switch 2. Just make a jumper from 3 to 2 right here, and then when you're in the game, it'll see the button as the rage button. So how did I determine which wires are what? I mean, they're just coming out of there, out of the gun. I mean, obviously black and red are pretty standard to mean black being ground and red as being 5 volts. But what about all these other ones? Well, sometimes you're just going to have to crack open your gun. And that's just what I happen to have here. Just what I happen to have right here. Cross section of the gun. So if I come down here, try to do this with as much light as possible. You can kind of trace all the wires back. There's not a whole lot in these guns. So for example, we look on this, that's the back side of the button right there. It's the back side. So black we know is ground, so we know yellow is the button. If you come over to the trigger mechanism here, we know black is ground, so that brown, it's hard to see, it's a black stripe on that brown wire, but brown and black is the trigger. And what I did in my notes is I just wrote each wire color down and exactly what it did. And for example, this is the mechanism here that made the gun vibrate. It's just a coil, same kind of coil as in a pinball machine, and the two wires were orange and white and yellow and red. And actually in my application I won't be using that because that requires a whole driver board to do all that, and you could wire that in if you wanted to, but my S-JIHP doesn't support that. It would be a whole separate board. You could actually buy a driver board out of an arcade game and wire it up yourself if you wanted to make it work properly. You could actually do that if you wanted to. So the important thing in this gun is to know the yellow wire is the button on the side, the brown and black wire is the trigger, alright, and then black is ground, obviously. Then I come down, this is the base. The way it works, you have two pots. There's one pot there, and there's another pot over here. So the red wire there is 5 volts. The black wire right here, it's hard to see, but black wire, that's ground. So those will be on the two outside posts of the pot. Alright. Then the middle wire, that's your analog device wire. So this one controls when I move up and down. You can see over here the gear moves when I move up and down. So that would be one of them. And then you gotta look over here at the other pot. This one controls left and right. As you see on the bottom, when I move it left and right, it moves a gear right there, which moves this pot right there. And so black and red, and then the wire in the middle, which is brown and blue, I know that's my other analog device. So that's how you determine all your wire colors, and then you just follow it back to the connector, and I would sit there and match up using my notes. Alright, I know yellow is the button, so I would, on my adapter, which I have down here, disconnect it real quick. Alright, so I know on my adapter I would then put the wire that's going to the corresponding pin into the proper hole on the connector here. Pretty easy to convert, actually. I'm glad I decided to try to make these adapters because splicing all these wires would be, it'd be a lot of work. Same amount of work probably as making an adapter. The difference really is that by making this adapter, if I ever wanted to put this gun back into an arcade cabinet to complete a restoration or something, all I have to do is disconnect the adapter and it'll plug right in and it'll work fine. Do that to benefit the preservation of arcade games. Alright, I will probably put some part numbers up here at the end of the video if anyone wants to make their own adapters for an Operation Thunderbolt gun for the S-JIHP. I have all the part numbers for Mauser here. I'll just put the manufacturer part number so you can look at it on DigiKey if you want also, or Mauser. You just search by the manufacturer part number and it'll pull it up. I will tell you, most connectors, Mauser is just a lot cheaper for some reason than DigiKey when it comes to connectors. So that's why I bought all my connectors and all my pins for the connectors. I bought them all at Mauser. It's just much cheaper. Alright, I'll just give you a short demonstration of the gun working, and that'll be it. Just want to mention something real quick. When I wired this up the first time I went to play, I noticed that when I went left to right, when I twisted it left to right, it was reversed, meaning when I twisted the gun right, it went left, and when I went left, it went right. What you do in a case like that, when it's reversed, you find the pot that corresponds to it, and all you do is you reverse the outside, the 5 volts in the ground, you just reverse those wires. So this was originally a black wire, and that the red was on this side over here. All I did was reverse those 2 wires, and then it made it go the proper direction when I twisted it. So right went right, left went left. You'll find that sometimes it's different on different games or different manufacturers because they use different, they use the numbers differently to mean different things in the programming. So the up and down on the gun was perfectly fine, but for some reason the left and right was reversed, and that just happens sometimes. So in this case, like I said, I reversed those 2 wires. Now if I ever want to change this gun back and use it in an actual cabinet again, I would just have to reverse those 2 wires again. No big deal at all. Alright, appreciate it. Alright, so my setup's a little messy right now, but let me go ahead and demonstrate this to you. Let me take it down here. Maybe a cable, get that out of the way. Some I/O cable. Alright, here I have, right here I have my S-JIHP right there. The black PCB is attached to the Sega I/O, and then what I do for games like this where I need extra buttons for start and everything, I have it's a splitter here, so it splits to 2 different DB25 connectors. The one connector here is connected to the joystick here for all my extra buttons, and then I have it split off, and I have an extension so I can have a few extra feet, the gun away from the screen, a few extra feet. So I have an extension, and here you see one of my adapters is attached to this already. So I'm gonna plug in the gun right here, so it's all connected. We're ready to play some games. So, sorry for my messy room right now. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit and demonstrate.
The year is 1988. Colonel Trutman, Rambo's former superior officer, had it.
I love that. Skip. Come on. Alright, so here we are. You just have to adjust, you have to go into the game menu and adjust the calibration of the gun so you can point off screen to reload. As you can see, it works just fine. Thanks for watching.
Too hard for the love, I won't regain my life unless I let the fight begin within me. Cause it's time to ride on all those that take for granted their lives. Blood, sweat, pain and tears. I'm like a warrior, throwing pain and spears at the boar in the lion's head just to eat. I'm like an animal, I won't accept defeat. Not now, not then, not ever. I'll make it out alive and we'll roll together. Visions of the future plague my mind, but I'll march on and keep the dream alive. Let's go! We strive, we fight, we live, we die. Soldier's life is a life of pride. I embark on a journey, soul is mine. We shall stand the test of time.
Sit, Kishi, sit. Good dog.
Oh my god, there's an Uzi on the table. Why is there an Uzi on the table?